The Tale of Little Mouk. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a peculiar little man named Mouk, though everyone called him Little Mouk. He was no taller than 3 steps and lived all alone in a large, quiet house. His clothes were old but tidy. He wore a pale, faded coat and wide trousers tied with a colorful sash. His most remarkable feature, however, was his enormous shoes, far too big for someone his size. Every month, on a certain day, little Mouk would leave his home. This event was a grand occasion for the children of the neighborhood. They would gather outside his door, tossing their hats in the air, dancing and singing songs as they circled around him. Though the children often teased him, Mouk never took offense. He smiled warmly, greeted them kindly, and shuffled along the road with his oversized shoes until he returned home, not to be seen again until the next month. Mouk had very little in the world, only the clothes he wore and a sword that had belonged to his late father. When Mouk was 16, his father passed away, leaving him alone in the world. He put on his father's clothes, strapped the sword to his belt, and one day, with a walking stick in hand, set off to seek his fortune. Many people laughed at him because of his strange appearance, but Mouk pressed on with courage in his heart. One bright morning, he arrived at a large town. There, he found a grand house and knocked on the door. A moment later, the door creaked open, revealing dozens of cats and dogs inside. An old woman with sharp eyes peered out. "Where do you come from? And who are you?" she asked. Mouk explained that he had lost his father and had no home. The old woman, whose name was Ahavzi, took pity on him and allowed him to stay, on one condition: he had to care for all her cats and dogs. Mouk was content for a while. He treated the animals with love and fed them every day. But from time to time, Ahavzi would accuse him of breaking her glass ornaments, though he had done no such thing. These false accusations weighed on Mouk's heart, and he began to dream of leaving. One day, while Ahavzi was out, a small dog gently tugged at Mouk's sleeve and led him into a locked room, Ahavzi's private chamber. There, Mouk found broken glass pieces on the floor. The dog nudged a pair of unusually large slippers toward him and pointed to the stick he had carried on his journey. Then, the dog looked at him as if urging him to go. Mouk, curious and hopeful, put on the slippers, took his stick, and stepped outside. After a short walk, exhaustion overcame him, and he fell asleep beneath a tree. In his dream, the same little dog appeared and whispered, "Step 3 times on your right heel, and the slippers will take you wherever you wish. Your stick can discover hidden treasures." When Mouk awoke, he did just as the dog had said. As he turned on his heel 3 times, the slippers whisked him into the sky and gently landed him near a magnificent palace. He walked toward it, only to be stopped and searched by the chief minister. When Mouk declared that he wished to serve as a high judge, the minister burst into laughter and told him to leave at once. Hurt, but not discouraged, Mouk began to walk away. Yet, one of the royal guards had witnessed everything and hurried to tell the king. Intrigued, the king announced a great race. To everyone's surprise, little Mouk joined the race and won with astonishing speed. Impressed, the king named Mouk as a royal judge. Though the other judges were envious, Mouk treated them with kindness and never returned their jealousy with anger. One night, Mouk's magical stick whispered to him, revealing the location of buried treasure beneath the palace garden. That night, he quietly dug and found a pot full of gold coins. The next day, he shared the gold with the other judges, but instead of being thankful, they accused him of stealing. They brought their complaints to the king. To investigate, the king ordered 2 men, Ahuli and Archaz, to secretly follow Mouk. That night, the men watched as Mouk searched for more treasure with his stick. They reported everything to the king. Furious and confused, the king summoned Mouk and ordered him locked in a tower, inside a heavy iron cage. But before that, Mouk was told to count all the gold coins he had found. As the pot emptied, a small note was discovered at the bottom. It read, "To whomever finds this treasure, I offer my gratitude. I, your king, once buried this with hope in my heart." Now the king was truly puzzled, but instead of apologizing, he thought it must be a trick. He demanded to know how Mouk had won the race. Mouk told him about the magical slippers, but not about the secret of turning on his heel. The king, curious and greedy, put on the slippers and started running. But without knowing the secret, he could not control them. He ran and ran until he collapsed from exhaustion. When he finally woke up, he angrily ordered Mouk to leave the palace. Mouk obeyed, but now he was poorer than ever. The king had taken his slippers and his treasure-finding stick and locked them away. Mouk wandered until he reached a quiet forest. Thirsty, he drank from a cool stream. Then he saw 2 fig trees. He picked a fig from the first tree and took a bite. At once, his face changed. His nose grew long and his ears drooped. Alarmed, he quickly ate a fig from the second tree. Like magic, his face returned to normal. He smiled and picked many figs from both trees, placing them carefully in his pockets. Then, he returned to the town in disguise, with a false beard and old clothes. He went to the palace gates and offered the sweet figs to the royal kitchen. The royal chef served the figs to the king, his 2 daughters, and 2 sons. As soon as they ate the figs from the first tree, their faces changed in comical ways. Doctors came and went, but none could cure them. Disguised as an old healer, Mouk returned and said he could help. He gave figs from the second tree to the princess, who returned to normal. Then, he healed the others one by one. The king was overjoyed and called Mouk a hero. He took him to the treasure chamber and told him to choose any reward. Mouk smiled as he spotted his slippers and his stick. Taking them in hand, he pulled off his disguise and said, "You treated me with unkindness and disbelief. As a gift, I leave you with a long nose and floppy ears." Before the king could reply, Mouk turned on his heel 3 times and vanished into the sky. The king cried out for help, but it was too late. Mouk used his stick to find treasure after treasure. He became a wealthy man and returned to the land of his birth, where he lived a quiet but curious life until the end of his days. Moral of the story: never judge others by how they appear. Kindness and courage can take you farther than anyone expects.